Okay, everybody, this is the acrylic paint tips and expectations. So this is your setup. Newspaper is down and there is an apron because acrylic paint is, excuse me while I put on my apron, is really messy and it dries quickly. Therefore, you've got to make sure that you take good care of the table, of your brushes, and of yourself by putting an apron on. These are the pros and the cons. It dries quickly, so you can work quickly by starting your piece with a wash. That's a technique where you use mostly water. This looks almost like watercolor, but you use it mostly water and just a little bit of acrylic paint and you can get a real transparent look. That's a great way to start off your painting, by just using a wash of a color that makes sense, or breaking down your design into some simple different color washes so that you don't have the white of the canvas staring back at you. You can also use the paint thicker because it has a heavier body. It's actually the heaviest body paint that I have here in the Ram Studio. Cons, though, that it dries quickly. You have to be ready to go. If you wanted to do a graduated wash, that is shifting from one color to another, or it's also called an ombre, you have to paint quickly so that, and be ready with your paints so that you can get the effect that you want and have your water with you. Notice in my setup I have a water container. I have a variety of large and medium and small brushes, and I have my paints. The acrylic paint might look like this in a little tube, and you can also find some plastic cups and put a lid on it if you've mixed a special color, or this is just white. And then also you'll find it in jars like this and in larger jars like these. This is called chrome acryl, and it says, if you look close up, student acrylic. Although I want to point out that this acrylic, Blickrylic, right there, looks a lot like the tempera from Blick. So make sure, check your paints, because you don't want to use tempera paint. This looks a lot like this gallon, although this is tempera and this is acrylic. And acrylic is quick drying, and it's basically like plastic. You can use it on canvas, this kind of canvas board with your name and class color, or a little stretched canvas like this, also name and class color. You can also use it on a thicker paper, on metal, wood, or on your sculptures of recycled materials, or paper mache would hold up for acrylic. You can reuse these palettes. The palette is a styrofoam, and you can actually rinse them off and leave your rinsed palettes right over here. If you use a paper plate and you're just using a little bit, you'll throw it away. That's fine too. And we've got our popsicle sticks if you want to mix. But with a palette knife, you can get a thick impasto, or mixing your colors. You could use these brushes. The only brush that you really don't want to use, this is a nice acrylic brush. The only one that you really don't want to use is this watercolor brush. And you can tell they're really soft, and they just don't hold up that well to a heavier bodied paint, the way that a brush like this acrylic brush has a stiffer bristle and will be able to create better effects with the thicker body paint like the acrylic. So because it doesn't come off, you have to wash your brushes, and it dries quickly. You have to wash your brushes really carefully. But even if you're using, like this brush was used and then left sitting, you want to pop it in your water container, and maybe even keep, as you're painting along, a paper towel, or use your newspaper to get some of the water off as you go back to using your brushes. And then another advantage of the thickness is that you can really cover mistakes with this. So even a little white acrylic can be used as a great way to cover up something and make changes rather quickly. You can let it air dry, or even use a hair dryer, and you're ready to go on the next layer of your paint. If you start working on your background, moving up to your foreground, the background or the washier transparencies can be a really great way to develop your painting, and fast with acrylic. So you're going to start with just a little bit of paint, and You should only be allowed in this back storage room if you're allowed to use the acrylic paint, or in the mural club. And you can see it is all lined up here by color, and we've got some different greens. The phthalos are really, really bright for mixing. So as you set up your palette, or if you save your palette and leave it on this counter, you can write your name and class color right here, and just be careful that you don't take out paint expecting to use it and then have the bell go off. But if you start on your day 1 or your day 3 or 5 and you know you're coming back the next day, you can probably, careful of this razor sharp edge for your saran, you can probably take a piece of saran wrap just like I did here and cover your acrylic paint to save it until the next day, and write your name and class color and leave it in the storage room. If you empty a little tube of acrylic, you can feed it to this guy who eats empty acrylic paint tubes like these, and we'll do something creative with those later. Plastic cups with lids, if you're mixing a color, and especially if you're mural makers, you're going to be needing that color to return to for touch-ups at the last minute, or going back and forth between lettering and the background. It's a really good idea to take a Sharpie and put your initials on the cover, and again, set it aside. We can keep these cups in this bin right here. More palettes. These are really nice brand new acrylic brushes. Masking tape. These are mixed up acrylics, but I do have, for your speed of painting, I'm always trying to make things more efficient for you, some full sets here. But see, these are full sets. Please don't separate, which means that when you open up your set and you look underneath, you have, this one's almost full. We're missing a couple of colors, but we'll keep it as a full, almost brand new set. And it looks like the white's been taken out. So you want to be just clever about how you're going to use things. Sometimes if you're going out in the hall to paint on your mural or working on something big, you want to have all your colors and be ready to go. You can take this set, just make sure you pop the lid back on and put it back when you're done before you do your cleanup. And that's just about it for the acrylic painting studio. There's some mural paints in here, and your primers are up in here. But again, always read, this is just in case we run out, but it's really a sealing paint. This is a primer. And finally, the varnish is in here. Acrylic medium, you can mix. It's a clear mix. This is not white paint. And these are varnishes that are oil-based. You have to wear gloves, and that's the last step, either matte or gloss, for your mural to seal it and protect it for years of enjoyment to come.